Gaspard Ulliel. On January 18, 2022, French actor Gaspard Ulliel was skiing at La Rosière, a resort in the French Alps near the Italian border. It was a clear winter afternoon, the slopes packed with tourists. Gaspard was skiing on an intermediate run, one of the wide blue trails that connect the upper slopes to the base of the resort. At one point on the trail, two runs merged into a single crossing. It was here that the accident occurred. Gaspard, descending steadily, entered the junction at the same time as another skier coming from the opposite slope. Witnesses said both men appeared to notice each other too late. Neither swerved in time. The collision was violent. Skis and poles flew apart, and Gaspard was thrown backward onto the snow. He was not wearing a helmet. The back of his head struck the icy surface with full force. The sound of the impact drew attention from nearby skiers who stopped to help. Gaspard lay motionless, his face pale against the snow. Ski patrol arrived within minutes. They attempted to stabilize him as he showed no signs of movement. A helicopter was called in from Grenoble, one of the main trauma centers in the region. As rescuers strapped Gaspard into a stretcher, it became clear his condition was dire. The injury had knocked him unconscious immediately, a sign of severe trauma. He was loaded into the helicopter and flown down the valley. The other skier involved in the collision managed to get up and walk away with only light bruises. Witnesses later said the difference had been Gaspard's unprotected head. A helmet would not have guaranteed survival, but the absence of one left him with no defense against the hard-packed slope and the force of the fall. The crash happened at a section many skiers passed through every day without incident. That was part of the horror. It wasn't a cliff, it wasn't a black run, it wasn't reckless speed. It was simply two people meeting at the wrong second, in the wrong place, with no time to react. Natasha Richardson. On March 16, 2009, Natasha Richardson took a beginner's skiing lesson at Mont Tremblant in Quebec. The slope was gentle, wide, and intended for first-time skiers. Instructors said she was relaxed, smiling, and laughing as she learned basic turns and braking. The fall happened suddenly. As she descended the beginner run, Richardson lost her balance and toppled sideways. It was not dramatic. She did not tumble or slide a long distance. She simply fell over like thousands of skiers do every day. When she stood up, she laughed, brushing snow from her jacket. Ski patrol arrived quickly, but Richardson waved them off, insisting she felt fine. What no one could see was the injury inside her skull. When her head hit the snow, the blow caused a small artery to tear. Blood began to collect slowly between her skull and brain. At first, there were no signs. She talked, walked, and even joked with her instructors. About an hour later, back in her hotel, the symptoms began. She complained of a headache. Then she grew dizzy. Within minutes, her condition collapsed. By the time an ambulance arrived, she was struggling to remain conscious. She was taken first to a local hospital, then transferred to a larger facility in Montreal, and finally flown to New York. But the bleed had built pressure on her brain for too long. The minor-looking fall had triggered a chain of events that doctors could not reverse. The accident showed in the starkest way how deceptive ski falls can be. Richardson's tumble was slow and harmless looking. The slope was easy. There was no speed, no tree, no collision. Yet the hidden damage inside her head was already fatal. Even on the safest hill, the risk was there. Michael Kennedy and Sonny Bono. On December 31, 1997, Michael Kennedy was skiing with his family in Aspen, Colorado. Kennedy, the 39-year-old son of Robert F. Kennedy, was known for skiing aggressively. That afternoon, he joined a group game that would prove deadly. The family had begun tossing a football to each other while skiing down Copper Bowl, a fast, steep run. Kennedy caught the ball, then attempted to throw it back. His skis crossed uneven terrain. Distracted, he lost control. Without time to recover, he veered toward the edge of the run and into the trees. He struck one of them at high speed. The sound of the impact carried down the slope. Skiers rushed to him, finding his body crumpled in the snow. Kennedy had not been wearing a helmet. The blow to his head was catastrophic. Ski patrol attempted CPR, but he never regained consciousness. His children and siblings, who had been skiing nearby, arrived before he was airlifted away, forced to watch as rescuers tried and failed to revive him. Just 1 week later, on January 5th, 1998, Sonny Bono was skiing at Heavenly Mountain Resort in Nevada. The 62-year-old entertainer and U.S. congressman was considered an intermediate skier. He spent the day on a series of groomed runs. Late in the afternoon, he left the marked trail and entered a wooded area. Inside the trees, Bono picked up speed. Witnesses said he appeared in control, but in the dense woods, reaction time is limited. In a split second, he struck a tree head-on. Ski patrol searched for him after he failed to return to the lodge. They found him lying against the trunk, motionless. The scene was almost identical to Kennedy's accident. A skier without a helmet, moving quickly, suddenly meeting an immovable object. The difference was that Bono had been alone. By the time rescuers found him, it was clear he had died instantly from massive trauma. Two famous figures, dead from nearly identical mistakes within days of each other. Both crashes showed how quickly skiing can shift from fun to fatal when speed and trees combine, and how a moment of distraction or a few feet off the trail can decide everything. Sarah Burke. On January 10, 2012, Sarah Burke, a 29-year-old freestyle skier, was training in the Eagle Superpipe at Park City, Utah. The pipe was one of the largest in the world, its walls rising 22 feet above the flat bottom. For elite athletes like Burke, it was a familiar arena. She had practiced in pipes like this thousands of times before. Burke launched into the air from the wall, completed her trick, and returned toward the bottom. The move itself appeared routine, but as her skis hit the slope, she landed slightly off balance. The edge of one ski caught. Instead of sliding smoothly, she pitched forward, slamming headfirst onto the icy floor of the pipe. The impact tore an artery in her brain. The force drove blood into her skull, and within seconds, she was unconscious. Witnesses rushed to her aid. Ski patrol and medical staff were at the pipe within minutes, performing CPR on the snow. She was airlifted to a hospital in Salt Lake City. Doctors placed her in a medically induced coma, but scans revealed massive damage. The artery tear had triggered cardiac arrest almost immediately after the fall, depriving her brain of oxygen. For 9 days, she remained on life support, but the injury was beyond repair. What made the crash chilling was its simplicity. Burke had not lost control in midair. She had not been attempting a new, untested trick. It was a routine landing, like one she had executed perfectly countless times before. A fraction of imbalance was all it took. In freestyle skiing, even the smallest error at the wrong angle can turn instantly catastrophic. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of this video. If you haven't been subscribed to the channel yet, please do, and help this channel grow.